All right, everybody, welcome back to the Radiant Media Podcast. Today, I'm here with Dawson Poling. Dawson's my friend. We met at a camp called Gull Lake a few years ago, and yeah, Dawson, you want to introduce yourself? Tell people what you're all about.
I've known Jesse for a while now, but we've been connected here and there. So I graduated from college at a Cedarville. It's a small school near Dayton, Ohio, with a communication degree. It's kind of like a cheat major. Loved it. Um,
Mine too. So yeah,
so I played tennis there all 4 years. Loved that. Great sport, great sport. And I don't know, I started to love movies in college. Um, During the COVID summer, there was nothing better to do. So during the entire summer, I watched 110 movies. It was kind of wild, but that was fun. But now I am out near the Chicago area, and I'm a real estate agent and work for this real estate investment company. But yeah,
wow, 110 movies. So you counted them all? Like
I
like
kept
did,
the
did you
list.
did you? Okay, so you didn't set out to do like 110 exactly. You
It's
just
just what happened.
wow.
Yeah.
What was there like a consistent genre of movies, or you just kind of like hopped
Um,
all around?
well, it started with I decided to watch the Disney princess movies with my little sister, and those movies are only like an hour and 15 to an hour and a half. So we like nailed out three the first day, and it was like, huh, let's just get through all of them, you know? And so
Yeah.
watched all of them in like 3 days. And then at that point, it's like, all right, watch all the Disney princess. Let's move on to Pixar. And then watched all Pixar. Then after that, it was like watching kind of like, all right, let's watch Jason Bourne. Let's watch the Daniel Craig, James Bond. Let's watch the Tom Cruise Mission Impossible, and let's just bear through the second one, even though I know it's gonna hurt. I know it's gonna hurt, but let's just still watch the second one.
Did you
So
see Tom Cruise at the Olympics? How
that
he
was that was crazy. I loved it. I loved it.
I just love how he's like manifested himself as a real life like version of what he is in the movies.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Tom Cruise is flying a plane in like Top Gun. Oh well, he's actually
He's
flying that
actually doing
plane.
it,
He's
or
actually doing it.
he's actually skydiving, or he's actually like landing on the Hollywood sign.
Yeah.
So yeah, that should be interesting with the Olympics in LA the next
Hmm.
4 years. So, um, but yeah, what's Tom Cruise coming out with next? I feel like he's got a bunch of movies in the docket. There's another Mission Impossible, right?
Yeah, it's the
Yeah,
part two of Dead Reckoning.
right. Did you
So
like the first Dead Reckoning?
I haven't seen it.
You haven't
I
seen it yet? Okay,
haven't seen
gotcha.
it.
Yeah.
I felt really bad about not watching that one. I didn't
Why? Why
do
did
it.
you feel bad about it?
Well, because it's like it's Tom Cruise, and I really wanted to
Right.
watch it, but then I just never saw it in theaters, and then
Yeah.
it just kind of gets lost, and I just
Do you
didn't watch.
find that you watch most of the movies out of theaters or in theaters? Or like do you make it a point to watch them in theaters or no?
If it's a movie I'm very excited about, then
Mm.
yes. Like Furiosa that just came out,
Mm.
I had to go watch that in
I haven't
theaters.
seen that yet. Was that good?
It's good. Um, the acting is really good. Chris Hemsworth, he is phenomenal in that movie. It's really cool to see him in a role that is not Thor.
Mm.
And I hate his Thor. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It it I'm just over Marvel for the most part, but there's still some hope. There's still some hope. But yeah, his acting was insane, so good.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
he didn't he like have prosthetics on and he
yeah.
became like a different person.
Mm, it was super cool.
I gotta check that out.
Yeah, you should. You
How
should.
was Anya Taylor-Joy in that?
She She's good.
Yeah,
Great.
as expected. I'm
Yep.
trying
Yeah.
to think of what else I've seen her in. She was in that Edgar Wright movie. Did you see that Last Night in Soho?
Hitch. Oh, oh, last night. And so no, I haven't seen that one.
I
That is
wa- I watched that on a plane one time. I feel like when I watch movies on planes, I don't really remember them because I'm like half asleep. But I should probably watch it again. But she plays this like alternate version of the main character. Like the main character kind of like turns into like, this like more charismatic person.
okay.
Um, so, I think she does well at those types of roles. Did you see Dune Part Two?
Absolutely love it.
It's beyond belief, isn't it?
I love it, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. She was in that for like a quick second,
Yeah, I was
but
like, what the heck?
yeah.
And I haven't read the books, but I think from when I've talked to people, I think I'm onto it that the next movie, there's probably going to be a time jump. I'm guessing,
Mm,
which just because she is the younger sister of Timothy Chalamet, and I'm like, if he has a vision of her and she's that age, he's got to be a lot older.
right.
I'm like, how are they going to make him look old?
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's correct at all. But
You might be right. I have a feeling that they're going to go in a different direction than we think they're going to. Because for the first two, I think they were based on, I mean, I haven't read the books or anything, but I think they're based on the first book or maybe like a little bit of the second book.
I think the
Um,
first one.
and then
Yeah.
for
And
for this upcoming one, people I think like most people who read the book, they think that the first book is good, but then the ones after it, they don't think it's very good. So people are starting to say, hey, like maybe they're gonna adapt it slightly differently and not so like faithful to the first one. So I think they're probably gonna do something different. And yeah, maybe a time jump. I don't know if that happens in the books or not,
yeah, yeah.
but
I just love seeing people go on power trips. Like like he does. That was so great.
oh, I
And
know.
he just
Yeah, just like that scene where like all of the people are around him and he was speaking in what's the language like Arrakis.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and he's just like this 95-pound Timothy Chalamet, but he's commanding a whole room like that. Yeah, Denis Villeneuve is so good, man.
Oh yes.
So yeah, I think he's making Dune Part Three, and then I think he's making some space movie too. It's like an adaptation of some short
That's gonna be
story, I
cool.
think. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
What would you say is your favorite Denis Villeneuve? Is it Doom Part Two or is it another one?
Hmm. I love Arrival. I love
Yeah,
Arrival.
it's
And
so good.
it was really funny because I was going on a date with this girl, right? And we were gonna go watch this like war movie that had Brad Pitt in it or something. And then our parents found out that it was rated R. So we couldn't go watch it. And the only other movie that was in theaters was Arrival. We didn't know what it was. We're like, well, I guess we'll just go watch Arrival, like whatever
Hmm.
the heck this movie is. And then
Right.
see it, and we're just like, whoa,
Yeah.
that was crazy good movie.
Yeah.
And I love Amy Adams. So,
Hmm.
yep.
Good combo of her acting and Denis Villeneuve storytelling. Yeah, that's one that I come back to a lot. Like, I think what works so well about his movies is it seems like it's almost like surgically done. Like everything is so precise from the cinematography to the acting to the writing, and you can tell that there's no like fluff to it. Everything that you see means something,
Right.
and yeah, like I think it's like in alien movies I think have a tendency to being like kind of wacky or not super realistic, but that felt I think really grounded and
Oh, yeah.
also like it had like a strong theme to it.
Hmm.
So that I
Yeah.
think that was based off of a short story too. um but yeah, that one's really good. Have you seen Prisoners?
Yes. Dude, the acting in that is so
Oh
good.
my goodness.
I,
Yeah.
dude, I have like over the last 2 years, I have really learned to just appreciate good acting. Like,
Totally. Yeah.
and because you could have an all right story, but then the acting could be phenomenal. And it just like bumps the movie up, like even though the story isn't as good, but the characters in it are so well and they're so passionate and you're just drawn to the characters and you're like, yeah, the story may not be there, but at least this acting is crazy good.
Mm.
And I just love that so much.
Yeah. Hugh Jackman in that, I think, is just like, because, anybody can get angry, but there's an angry that he pulls off
Yeah.
where you believe that he's actually angry. It's not just like it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And that scene where he's, holding Paul Dano in that like small room and he smashes on the sink, you were just terrified of this guy. You're like, oh my goodness. And there's something so satisfying about that too. It's just like, this guy just needs his daughter and he's like gonna do anything to get her back. Um, but yeah, and then Jake Gyllenhaal is really good in that too. I feel like Jake Gyllenhaal always plays the guy who's like normal at the beginning, but then he just slowly goes insane too.
Uh,
Like in that movie, and then Zodiac. Have you seen Zodiac?
it's been a while, but yes.
Yeah, that one's great too. That's Fincher. Fincher's
Right.
got some good stuff.
Mm.
The new Alien movie came out, I think, or is coming out tonight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, have you heard about that yet or no?
I I've heard about it. I didn't
Yeah.
know that it was coming out so soon,
Yeah. I've
but
heard
I've,
it's
I've got
I've
to
heard
go.
it's pretty phenomenal, so I'm excited to see it.
I've got to go watch that then because
Yeah.
the first one, I love the first one. So,
Have I seen the first one? I know I've seen the second one. Yeah, I think I've seen the first one. The
like
first one and the second.
1979 or something.
Yeah, with Sigourney Weaver.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think I've seen the third one. I think that's the one I haven't seen yet. But yeah, I've heard that this one that just came out, it's got like a lot of practical stuff in it, so it feels like very much like the originals.
I love that.
Yeah. So yeah, I still need to see a lot of Ridley Scott stuff, like speaking of movies that kind of came out in
Mhm.
that era. I still haven't seen Blade Runner. I got to see that.
Dude, that's like the classic, like sci-fi space,
I
like
know. I know.
that. Oh, it's insane. Now, like a lot of that, like goes right over my like. I don't understand some of the like metaphors or like themes in it.
Yeah.
Kind of boggles my mind,
Yeah.
but it's worth the watch, man.
I saw the 2049 one, but I didn't see the original one.
Yeah, 2049 is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, with but but yeah, I mean, it's crazy how Harrison Ford has lasted so long. Like I think a lot of people like, if they're stars, they kind of have their moment and they drift away. But I feel like Harrison Ford, whenever people see him, they're, like the Indiana Jones franchise
Yeah.
has lasted so long and he was in that Blade Runner 2049. So yeah. I don't like what do you think makes an actor last so long and like people's attention to them? Is it just like purely how good at acting they are? Is it one movie that they're in that is so classic that people just like, they watch that movie over and over and so they want to see that person again? Like what do you think that is?
I think definitely part of it is like they're just good at acting, but I really think it is a lot of the drive of the actor or actress, like um Leonardo DiCaprio, like he doesn't need to do any more movies, like he can pick and choose, and yet he is still so passionate about it and he's like, I want to do movies, and he just loves it, and that's why from What's Eating Gilbert Grape up until I don't even know his last movie. It might have been the Quentin Tarantino one, but it's like he's just stayed in it because he's so passionate about it. And of course, people love his acting and stuff. I really like Joaquin Phoenix, and he's been since what his first big movie in my mind is Gladiator. He might
Mm.
have done something before that, but I'm like, he has stayed super relevant, such a great actor. And I think the longevity of actors, a lot of it is they take it seriously as a job, as a career,
Mm.
and they
Mm.
strive to be better.
Mm.
It's not like, oh, I'm an actor, this is how I act. It's like
Right.
I want to improve, I want to get better. And
Mm-hmm.
with that, it's like people love them. So,
Yeah, yeah, because it's like I think people sense when somebody is challenging himself and or herself and wants to like do something out of love for what they're doing instead of just like collecting a paycheck. And I
yep.
think that might be what it is. It's like you can sense whether somebody's collecting a paycheck or
Yes.
whether they're putting their heart on the line to,
Hmm.
make a great story.
Yeah, like Robert Downey Jr. For the Marvel movies, he gets paid an insane amount of
A
money. Like
bajillion.
him going back to Doctor Doom, he's gonna make like 50 to 80 like
I
he's
think
gonna make
I heard it was like 100 million on each movie.
yeah, it's gonna be insane.
Yeah.
Now you look at it, and when he did Oppenheimer, for which he won Best Supporting Actor, he decided, you know what? I'm going to take 4 million. That's it. Now, like 4 million to us is like, whoa, that's a lot of money. But like to actors, it's like that's like for how big Robert Downey Jr. is, that's not a lot of money. But he said, I want to be in this movie so bad because one, it's Christopher Nolan, and two, I just know it's going to be an amazing movie and I want to be a part of it. You know what? I'm going to get paid $4 million, even though if another studio tried to get me, I'm going to charge them at least 30, you know?
Right. Right.
And so that's like, I I just respect him for that like
Oh,
crazy.
totally.
But
Yeah.
it like that's him just loving what he does, that he's willing to take a massive pay cut
Right.
just to be in a great movie.
Yeah, and he for Oppenheimer, he switched up how everybody saw him too, and I think in that way he was really challenging him because for so long he was like this savior of the universe in the Marvel movies, but for this one he was this kind of, like conniving, nasty guy who was trying to like cause the downfall of Oppenheimer in the movie. So yeah, I think like seeing him in that role he was able to do something that he hadn't been able to do over the past like 10 or so years. Not able to do, but like didn't choose the opportunity to do. And I think like it just gave so much more respect for him from everybody, the fact that like he was willing to do that. And it's funny too, because you know, he did that and now he's coming back to Marvel movies. And I wonder what's going through his head. One, it's like he's getting like the biggest payday of probably all time, right? And also, I think he's probably like, okay, like I challenged myself, now I want to like have some fun again,
Yeah.
and but I think it's like it still represents his evolution too, right? Because he's playing another villainous character and he gets to like, you know, be on the opposing side versus what he was before on, being this like ultimate hero. So yeah, it's interesting to see the trajectory that actors' careers go. But yeah, I don't know. It's like him and yeah, I'm curious to see what Killian Murphy is going to do next too. Is he signed up for the next 28 Days movie?
I think
I,
so.
I, I haven't seen those yet, but
I
he
think he
was
is.
okay.
No, I haven't seen any of them, but I think he is.
Yeah, I haven't seen them either. I haven't seen Peaky Blinders either, and I think there's going to be a Peaky Blinders movie.
Yeah, I did hear
So
about that. I saw the first couple seasons of Peaky Blinders. I don't know why I didn't finish it, but it was very good.
yeah, Yeah, I
Very
got to check it out. I think I heard it was like really violent or something, and I wasn't in a violent mood, so I didn't start watching it. But I got to check it out at some point. But yeah, him and um, let's see who else. Emily Blunt. What's she up to next? You know, is she? Are they doing another Quiet Place movie or?
um did one just come out? One did.
Yeah, it
Right?
was like a prequel before the
Yeah.
first A Quiet Place, and I don't think either John or Emily were in that one.
Like did John not direct it?
I don't
Or
think he did.
oh, because
No.
I heard it wasn't as good.
Yeah,
And I was wondering if John directed it or not, and if he didn't, it makes sense.
right. Yeah, because that was kind of his baby, that
Yeah.
franchise. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm surprised he didn't direct that one. I guess he wanted to direct If, that Imaginary Friends movie. Did you see that one?
I did not.
Yeah, it was kind of like a kids movie. It's like a real life Pixar movie. So it was just like really odd to see him go from, A Quiet Place, which is like, this like thriller horror movie, to a
Yeah.
kids movie. But, I think because he's got kids, he's like, I just want to try out a different genre.
Yeah.
So, I think, kind of like Robert Downey Jr. trying different things with his career is probably John trying to do the same thing with that. And he played a small role in that, but he didn't give himself like a main character role or anything. So, and then, and one thing I find fascinating too is how, people can start out as comedians, but then drift over into other genres too. Like John Krasinski starting out in The Office, and then he like, directs a horror, or Jordan Peele, starts out in comedy, then goes to horror,
Yeah.
or, there's like plenty of other people like that. So what do you think enables people to like switch from, being generally known as comedians or doing comedy, and then being able to do something that's more dramatic?
Yeah, so I've thought about this and read some about it, and I think comedic actors can actually be so broad in their acting because to be funny on screen, like when taping, you're having multiple takes of stuff and you've got to be funny every time and you've got to make it new, and it can be hard to be funny through a script, you know? And so if they can do that really well, then going to another genre, it's like they already have the ability to kind of make themselves into a whole nother person, like in a comedy. So, like, my favorite example is Adam Sandler. Him in Uncut Gems, I think is one of the best performances. I think it's his best performance because he goes from being a comedy guy to he's in Uncut Gems. He plays like a goofy character,
Yeah.
but he's like so intense. It's a whole different ball game for him. And I'm like, I didn't know that he could do that, you know? And then you have Robin Williams, like hilarious guy, super funny. He goes and does Goodwill Hunting, and it's like, whoa, like I thought this guy was just comedy, and yet he just pulled off one of the most memorable roles of all time and one of the best
Right.
movies of all time.
Right.
And so I think comedic actors have a very large variety of what they can do because it is so hard to be a good comedic role.
Are you saying that comedic actors are the best actors?
I'm I was saying
Maybe.
like possibly like I think they have a very vast majority of roles that they can play. And I think that is very good. Now you have someone like Christian Bale, who he's done everything. He is by everything, I mean like gained 100 pounds, lost 120 pounds, like to all the different roles he's had and everything. And so you have someone like that. You have comedic actors. who can go and just like switch into different roles and they're amazing at it. But I think if you're like Dave Bautista, guy's hilarious, like funny. I don't see him playing like another role. Like in Dune, his role is I don't even know who that was, but he was just like, eh, like he wasn't
Mhm.
fantastic, he was just kind of there. Um, but when an actor can switch roles, it's amazing. And I think you either have to be a comedic actor or you just have to want it really, really bad. And that's your Joaquin Phoenix, Christian Bale, Leonardo DiCaprio. I'd put Amy Adams in there. She's done a lot of different stuff. I'm trying to think of other actresses. I don't have any off the top of my head, but
But yeah, I think you have a really solid point that, and I think there's something that they tap into which applies both to comedy and to drama. And I think it's like even the funniest of people, they have, really like bouts of depression or with Robin Williams, unfortunately, what happened with him. So I think there's something like deeply painful that they have in them that can be channeled to like give an incredible amount of joy, or they can really like dig deep into what's causing it, and then that causes them to do something that's a bit darker, more dramatic.
yeah,
So I don't
yeah,
know,
that's
what do you think about that? Do you think there's a point there?
Oh, I think there's definitely a point there. The person I was thinking about was Heath Ledger.
Mm.
He does a rom-com with 10 Things I Hate About You. He's in The Patriot, you know, and he's like he's definitely a good guy in that. And then all of a sudden, like he's in The Dark Knight and it's like he's this like one of the most memorable villains of all time. Oh yeah. There it is. And for some reason, those are the only three movies I can think of that he's in.
Yeah, that's all I can
Another
really think
guy
about too.
where it's like you can see how it probably like it took a toll on him. You know?
Right.
So
Is I don't know if I've ever really had it cleared up. Like, do you think that the Joker, like him playing the Joker, played a significant role in how he passed away? I don't even know what the specifics were. Like, did it get him into a dark place? Like, and then like kind of needed. I don't know exactly what it was. I don't want to say anything that it wasn't, but I don't know.
yeah, I I don't like to think that like the Joker made him like accidentally OD on his depression meds or
Yeah,
like I don't like it definitely there's something deeper going on like with the
yeah,
person themselves and it's like us as the viewer and not having a direct connection to Heath Ledger as a person it's like
right. There's no
we
way we can ever know.
we won't know what was going on in his personal life or anything like
Yeah.
that. And so I don't think it was really connected to the Joker. I think that's like the lore and people like
Right. That's what
they like
people kind of want to believe. And
and it kind of like hypes up his role even more.
right.
So but I think it was probably more personal.
Totally. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I think that actors and I was listening to, speaking of office people, I was listening to Rainn Wilson and Bryan Cranston talk on a podcast yesterday, and that was a really fascinating conversation
I bet it
because
was.
like those are two shows that I love, and I think Breaking Bad is probably my favorite TV show of all time. So to see them talk, and like Rainn Wilson, and this kind of like goes in line with what we're talking about. Like, even though he's like this slapstick kind of comedian in The Office, he's a really deep thinker, and he was talking about morality with Bryan Cranston and like what what morality means in Breaking Bad. And one of the things that stuck out to me was Bryan Cranston was talking about how he didn't think that Walter White had the luxury of morality. That was his words. And I found that to be really fascinating because it's like
Really
he
good
was
point.
he was talking about how have you seen Breaking Bad?
Oh, dude, I've seen that like so many times through. And
Yeah.
in my free time right now, I'm actually watching Breaking Bad. I'm not making my mom. She wants to now. But I'm watching it through with my mom, dude. I go over and I watch it with my mom. So,
Yeah, I can just always have that playing in the background. Like it's the type of show that you can watch over and over. But yeah, like and he was talking too about how it's this guy who like gets into this mad rabbit hole of all of these like decisions that get him into a bad place, but yet it's like and he was also talking about too how there's a lot of characters where they can be just like completely heroic, but they kind of like caught the wave with Breaking Bad of more of anti-heroic people. And I think like even more than anti-heroic, this guy he's the villain of the story, but still he's the protagonist. And you find yourself like, you know, even though he's doing bad stuff, it's like you feel like you're in his situation. You're like, all right, like I gotta like, if I was in that situation, what would I do?
yeah.
And I think that's like what's what can be really powerful about movies, about TV, is it can transport you into these situations and you get to like question yourself about what you would do in those situations. And I think that's what really entertains me is, as I'm writing too, is like trying to put characters into situations where I wouldn't know what to do and try to figure out like what is the best decision here. But yeah, we're almost out of time, but I do want to let you talk a little bit too about like the short scripts that you're working on and
Yeah. Yeah, for
yeah, just
sure.
tell me a little bit about like what's inspiring that.
Yeah, so I get lots of inspiration from stuff that I watch. I'll watch something, I'll be like, "Oh, that's really cool." And it'll just be like one thing, and then I just try and like create events around it and like what's going on. Like I just watched through the show Normal People. Wow, that is a great show. I was really depressed at the end, but fantastic show. And I start thinking through like, all right, like what are things that I could like write about with this? And lots of times I like to think of the ending that I want to see. And then from the ending, I'm like, all right, now I work backwards. And the ending can't be like they fall in love. It needs to be like, no, no, no. Like, what do you want the actual ending to be? And then it's like, how do I get there? And so that's kind of how I work some of these scripts that I'm writing and everything.
Are you
So
working on any new ones right now?
I'm working on a little one. It's kind of man, I feel like I'm working on two, but like I'm like joining them together, you know? So I don't know. It's like based off of Normal People. It's about like a young guy and girl who kind of like fall in love, and then there's like stuff that happens, of course, and it's kind of like they react with each other in different stages of life. And then last week on vacation, I sort of met this girl. Sort of.
Sort of.
So we don't have to get into detail. We don't have to get into detail. Uh,
This might be a different podcast.
it might be a different podcast. And it's like I take inspiration from that. I'm just like, all right,
Yeah.
can I kind of take my interaction with her, which is a real life experience, and how can I move that into a script and kind of put different events around it that makes it a cohesive story? And so those are some things I'm working on right now. Also, I am trying to get like more natural conversation just because I feel like I'm good at like these are the events that happen. I get them in logical order. I'm like, this happens because that. And I'm just like, all right, it all fits. But when it gets to like writing actual conversation,
Yeah.
I'm just like not the best writer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Dialogue is really hard.
yeah,
I'm trying to get better at it. It's like, you're putting your characters into a situation and you're trying to think like, because it's like you almost want to make it so conversational, but then at a certain point, that's the actor's job to make it conversational.
yeah. And so I'll send my script to you. I'll send it to a couple other friends of mine and just be like, yo, give me all the feedback. I don't care what it is. Just don't make me cry, but be firm. You know?
Yeah.
Like still be firm with me.
Yeah.
And like a decent amount is about the dialogue, like is something I started doing. I had this brilliant idea just because I wanted to get raw conversation, just because I love how Quentin Tarantino in certain like conversations can just have like amazing dialogue about normal stuff. Like in Pulp Fiction, they're talking about like the guy doesn't eat pig because it's a filthy animal, and then he's talking about how a dog isn't a filthy animal, and it's just like, how do you come up with this stuff? And like, it just sounds so cool and everything. And so I, on vacation last week, when I was in a place with my family, and I was like, all right, there'll probably be some good conversation to be had. Like it'll be funny. There'll be some stories flying around. I'd grab my phone and I'd start getting a voice memo, and I would just put my phone out and just listen to the dude. I had some great stories that I've caught and like some dialogue that I could literally take from the voice memo and just put on a script.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it just works, like if
Right.
you just need a
Right.
scene of dialogue, like it just works. And so if there's anybody out there having trouble with dialogue, I would say if you're just in a social setting, just turn on your voice memo and just you'd be surprised of all the random conversation you'll get, and it'll actually kind of like spark like how people actually talk, you know? And but to your point, Jesse, I think that when it comes to the acting, a lot of it is on the actors, because it's like you can give them a script and you can be like, here's the dialogue and stuff, but you need to change it to how you would say it. Like
Mm.
I don't want you to go word for word what I say, because that is probably not how it comes naturally to you. And I'm a big fan of it's not impromptu, it's what?
Improv.
Improv. There it is. Improv. I'm a big fan of improv because it's like it's just raw. It's like, oh, wasn't expecting that. And in the TV show Succession, I love it because the directors they give a script, but they would say like, we want you to just like talk as your character. And in a good movie or good TV show, the actors, they know their characters. They are their characters. And so they need direction for the script and dialogue. But when it actually comes to saying the message, they really don't need help. It's like they've just got it. And that is what happened in Succession a lot. All the
Yeah.
actors became amazing at improv.
Right.
And that's something I think a lot of the dialogue when it comes to actually filming and making a short film or making a feature, it is on the actors to be like, hey, make this kind of natural, you
Right.
know? So,
Right. Yeah, and an exercise that I did when I did this, I don't know if I told you about this, but I was a part of this acting class. It was actually a directing class, but they needed actors for this directing class at UT Austin. It's the school where Matthew McConaughey teaches. I didn't see him teach,
no way.
but yeah. So what they had us do is they had us do improv before the lines that we were given. It was a recreation of a scene from Euphoria, actually.
Okay.
And so I had to do improv lines. And then, when I felt like I was ready, then we would go into the actual lines. And it was so helpful because you felt like, you kind of like were talking about the situation. And then, once it was time to like actually do the script, you felt like you were in character. You knew why they were saying these things. And, like, and from the director's position, I feel like that informs me to be like, okay, I want people to understand their characters. I don't want them to say it in this exact way. I want them to be emotionally attached to where their character is rather than thinking like they need to do it in such a perfect way. And I
Mhm.
think that's what you're saying too. It's like, having them say it in their way instead of trying to like manufacture this robotic version of what you think
Yeah.
dialogue should be, when in reality it's like, the way that they come across those exact words, even if they're saying something that conveys the same point, it's going to convey an understanding to the audience better if they do it in their way.
Yeah. And I also think like with a normal job and employees, people hate to be micromanaged. It's like, hey, I've got it down. Like,
Yeah.
don't tell me how to do my work, because I've got it. And then like in making movies, it's like, don't get on an actor because you have a certain way of doing things. It's like, no, like the actor knows their character. They can speak the lines better than you can write the lines.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a big like don't micromanage your actors. Like give some direction, be like, I want it to be like this, and then just let them take the reins and let them make it their own.
Mm-hmm.
So
100%, man. All right, I think that should probably be where we wrap it up for today. But
yeah.
really, really great conversation. We're gonna have to continue it soon. And yeah, thank you so much, guys. Everybody who's watching. This has been the Radiant Media Podcast, and we'll see you next time.